Hey honey, Wednesday Midgard. My name is Michelle from Throw Into Another Letter. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the best books of 2022. Go ahead and get your snack and then come back. You got it? Okay. I have 10 books here for you. There are some that I did strike from this list because due to the HarperCollins strike, I will not be speaking about these books. Just know that they were under a certain imprint that I love. They were new releases. So, the first book that we're going to be talking about in 2022, and you're probably thinking to yourself, why? Why? Credence by Penelope Douglas. Oh my gosh, my tummy's growling. But do not fret, okay? They're not all like this. I have a very simple reason for why I like this book, and a very simple reason indeed. One, because I like Penelope Douglas's writing. Two, because she does characters that I feel very well. And three, it was a silly book that I wanted to read on the way home when we were in Sioux Falls, and I picked this up and I paid $16 for it, and it was well spent $16. Will I recommend this to anyone? No. I do not recommend this to anyone. Why? Because there's sexual assault in it. It's kind of taboo. There's some things in here that will make you feel gross. That will be like, that's icky. How did I like it? I don't know. I'm a fucked up person, I guess. But, like I said, I don't recommend this to anyone. I just enjoyed it for me. And then the second book that I enjoyed was Emily Henry, People We Meet on Vacation. Obviously, you know Emily Henry's writing. This is about Alex and Poppy. Poppy is she works for a magazine, and she travels and does like blogging and things, and she feels like there's something missing from her life, and she's all sad-o, depresso, and she contacts her old friend Alex, who she hasn't been on a vacation with in a while because something happened on that vacation. What it is, you don't know until like towards the end, okay? Why did I like this? Alex. I loved Alex. I didn't really care for Poppy. That seems to be a theme so far from what I've heard, is like they love the guy, but they don't like the girl. So yeah, I liked the reveals. I liked the pacing, and I just liked how silly that they could be together. I just thought it was very sweet. Alright, third book I actually don't own, but this is A Million Quiet Revolutions by Robin Gow. A Million Quiet Revolutions follows Oliver, a Jewish boy, and Aaron, a Puerto Rican trans boy, on their journey of finding themselves. So here's a quote that I really enjoyed from this book. The word man is heavy. It makes me think of bodybuilders and fathers. So Oliver loves reading about history, and Oliver finds some things about trans soldiers during the Civil War, and so they decide to name themselves after these soldiers, and I just found it was very poetic. It's written in verse, and it's also told through like voicemails and text messages and letters and like different media and things like that. But I just felt like it was so touching. Dead naming, transphobia, there is mention of molestation, religious elements, internalized transphobia, anxiety. There's some really hard subjects in here, grief. But the way that it's told is, like I said, through the letters and texts and things like that. And I loved it. Like, I don't know how to describe it to you other than I loved it. I enjoyed it. The next book that I'm going to be talking about is Icebreaker. Do I have it? Yes, I do. You know why? Because Alex got it for me for my birthday. So Icebreaker is fucking awesome. This is about Mickey and Jason. So Mickey is a third. He is a third. It's like Mickey James. I think it's James Carlson. No. Yeah, Mickey James the third. So he's a freshman, and then you have Jason Caulfield, who is a he's also a freshman, but he is from like he's had to work harder for things versus Mickey, who obviously his dad and his grandfather were both hockey players, both famous, and so he has a lot to. He's like the prince of hockey, right? And he has a hard time living up to this namesake. He's a great hockey player, but he's not in it. He's not. There's a lot of anxiety around performing, around making sure that you're the best, and he feels that pressure very deeply. And that's what I loved about this, was the anxiety representation within this, because you see him just kind of like going through the motions, or he sulks up in his room, he isolates himself. I enjoyed that part, just seeing anxiety. I also really enjoyed the relationship between Jason and Mickey, and albeit Mickey is a brat. Mickey can be such a freaking brat. But Jason brings out this side of him that you don't see him doing with other people. And I loved to see that. You see the gender discrepancies among like female hockey players, or like the women in Mickey's life. There's bisexual representation, there's polyamorous representation, there's I think there's other representation here, but you just see the way that he interacts with like the women around him. He thinks that they're amazing. They're all above him, and I love it. I love that. There's also like talks about how he deals with his father, and like how he feels about his family, because his dad is a hockey player and his mom is a figure skater, and you see how that has trickled down. There's like so many girls in his family, and then he's the only boy. The next book that I'm going to be talking about in this is called Practice Girl by Estelle Laure. So Estelle Laure's first book, I read Mayhem. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. But you know what? That makes sense, because I also didn't like The Lost Boys. So I'm going to show you my little layout. So Practice Girls, so trigger warnings for misogyny, toxic masculinity, there's sex in this, there's some like sexual trauma, gaslighting, grief, and death. So this came out in May of 2022, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4-star. The reason why I didn't give it a 5-star was that there was just something missing. However, this is about Jo? Yeah. So this is about Jo, who is she's like the manager of the wrestling team. And she has these relationships with some of the wrestling boys, and she starts to realize like there's a pattern happening here. Like she's just giving her body, and they don't want to do anything else. They don't want to be her boyfriend. They don't want to hold hands. They don't want to be intimate. They just want to get in, do their thing, and get out. And she's feeling this level of confliction and unhappiness. She goes to this party. While she's at the party, she hears the guys talking about her, and she sees her best friend, her guy best friend, her favorite guy best friend, and she sees him like not say anything about them. And the guys are just like, yeah, she's just a practice girl. Like, she's not one you actually want to be with. She's the one you're with before you find your girlfriend, kind of a thing. And she's like, what the fuck? And so she decides that she's going to just kick ass. She joins the wrestling team for real. And she wants to beat the shit out of them. As she should. And while she's doing all this, she meets this boy, Dax. I think this, yes. Oh my god, I loved Dax So Dax is this wrestler from another team. And what do you know? Her guy best friend Sam absolutely hates him. For what reason, I don't know. But Sam starts hating him, and she's like, you didn't say anything when those guys were calling me that, so what do you care now? But she finds out that this girl's also friends with Sam's girlfriend, Jen. And that's the whole reason why she doesn't like Sam. That's the whole reason why she doesn't like Joe, is just because of the fact that Jen is dating Sam, and Sam treats Joe differently than he treats Jen. And so Jen hates her guts, obviously, as anybody would. And as Joe starts hanging out with this girl from her work, she hangs out with Jen as well. And so she gets to know Jen a lot better, while she's also kicking ass and taking names. And then she's also exploring the grief that she feels because her father died very suddenly. He had a heart attack. And she still has some of the notes that he gave to her. And he is her motivation for wrestling. He is her motivation for just kicking ass. Here's a quote that I found really interesting. It said, I'm not the kind of girl guys want to introduce to their parents. I'm the kind of girl they want to introduce to the back seats of their cars. That really just hit me. And then this one says, my dad said my problem is that I can't assess my opponent, but really, I don't know how anyone assesses anyone accurately. The truths and complications we hold inside us can't be known by another person. That's what makes being human so lonely. So Dax, he's interested in Joe, and he's the only boy that at first she's really wary of him, because she thinks, obviously, this guy just wants to get in my pants, whatever. And he's like, I would love that, but I don't want that. He actually wants to get to know her. He actually wants to, he wants to know her as a person. He doesn't care about the sexual aspect. Also, because Sam really reflected, some of the experiences that I've had with boys. And I was just I just want better for Joe at this point. Another book that I really enjoyed, I do not have with me because it was an art copy. So, Home Field Advantage. And this is by Dahlia Adler. And I'd never read Dahlia Adler before, but I do want to read it. I do want to read more of her stuff. I tried to do Cool for the Summer, and I just couldn't get into it. I think it was just because of the stuff that was going on at the time. So, I really enjoyed this. Dahlia said that this entire thing was inspired by a photo that she'd seen of this girl braiding this guy's hair. So, trigger warnings for death, grief, homophobia, blackmail, bullying, harassment. There's a mention of car accident and misogyny. Also, I'm not going to spare you this, but there is a miscarriage that happens somewhere around the 70 to 90% mark, and it is not from the main character. But I hate the fact that I did not see this miscarriage thing coming, and it was triggering. So I will let you know that there is a miscarriage. So this follows Amber, she's absolutely gunning for cheer captain for senior year, and she finds out that there's supposed to be a new football player named, I think this one's also named Joe. No, Jack. Okay, so she finds that there's a new player named Jack. He's a quarterback that's replacing the old quarterback. Now, the old quarterback, unfortunately, in the summertime, died in a car accident, and everybody is still the town is absolutely still reeling from the death, and so the fact that they, it's barely been a couple months that this is a new season, and they're bringing in a new quarterback. It feels icky. It feels bad, right? Until you realize that the quarterback that died is a jerk. Was horrible to the main character, was horrible to the side character. So Amber actually identifies as polysexual, And you actually find that out on Paige, and her mom is bi. So she's a lot more understanding. You would definitely tell, like, this is a cheerleader, like, these are cheerleaders, because, like, they're very catty, they're very, like, snarky, there's, you know, they're mean. Amber is a really reluctant heroine in the fact that she wants to make sure that this quarterback feels welcome. She's, like I said, she's gunning for captain, so she's going to do all she can to make everybody feel at ease with this new change, with this quarterback. And Jack moved at least 2 hours away from where they live to be at this high school, and she's just getting absolute hate. This was a lot because I had a lot of subplots. So there was stuff going on with Amber with the cheerleading squad. There was stuff going on with Jack with his family, with her family. There was a lot of stuff going on with Jack and Amber becoming friends. There was a lot going on there was just a lot going on, I guess you could say. But I enjoyed it a lot. Here's the next book that I really enjoyed, which was Some Girls Do by Jennifer Dugan. This was sent to me by Penguin, so thank you for that. So this is about Morgan and Ruby. So Ruby is a mechanic, and she also doubles as a pageant queen. Her mom enters her in pageants. There's a lot of expectations within this dynamic, this mother-daughter dynamic. And then there's Morgan. Morgan had something she protested against, she came out at her school, and there was a lot of resistance to, obviously there's some homophobia within the Catholic system. Her family is trying to sue her old school for the homophobia, and so there's that going on. But Morgan transferred to this new school, and Morgan is living with her brother, I think. Yeah, Morgan is living with her brother to try to just get a new start, just get like a fresh start in the middle of the school year. And she joins the track team, so she's trying to deal with the track team. And then there's Ruby, who's trying to deal with her overbearing, almost narcissistic mother. It's like it's not hate, but it's like a miscommunication to like friends to like lovers. And over time, these girls come to like rely on each other. They're kind of like opposite. Ruby's very like withdrawn outside of things, because people see her as the girl from the wrong side of the tracks. You know, she's trailer trash, that kind of a thing, even though she's doing the pageant stuff. And she doesn't talk to anybody. She doesn't really say much, but she's kind of like in that popular genre where but people still talk shit, which I was trying to figure out why. And then Morgan is very gay, very out there gay, and she meets a couple of people from school who are also gay and tries to get them to go into a club, but it's just not working. What did I like about this book? I like the fact that there was mechanic stuff in there, and there's also a very positive male, like a fatherly image, and I wish that we would have gotten more of that. And with Morgan, I just really loved how caring of Ruby, even though Ruby is so guarded. It's the fact that Ruby's guarded and Morgan is so open, and that's what I loved about them. I don't know what else to say about that, but I enjoyed that part. So the next book that I'm going to be talking about is Heartstopper Volume 4. Obviously, so this one deals with eating disorders, which I remember I was like, oh, shoot. That one's... yeah, eating disorder, OCD, there's homophobia, bullying, transphobia, and self-harm. And, I enjoyed this, but I also feel like nothing happened. Like, I feel like, we were mostly reading about one of the characters that was struggling with this, and then you have this other character who's so supportive and so, like, they're just dealing with so much, and they just deserved so much better. We're going to be talking about Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. So this is the first time I'd ever read Nnedi Okorafor. I read this for Tor.comathon. This was the group book. And holy shit. So this really gave me like folktale vibes. I know that there's like futurism elements that I personally did not understand. That's why I got it that's why I got a 4-star, because there were moments where I was like, where are we? What time are we in? What is going on? Like, I was very confused. But from what the elements that I did get and for the things that I did understand, I really enjoyed it. I loved the character descriptions. I feel like there's a simplicity of writing that if I can find that pocket that I really enjoy, where it felt like something that like a grandma would tell me. It feels like something that you'd grow up finding, like growing up knowing, like the tale of Sankofa, of the daughter of death, you know. And I also really loved Mavenpick, the little fox character. So I had so many questions about how her powers came to be. I had so many questions about like the elements of it, and there were things I was confused about. And I really rooted for Sankofa because all she really wanted was someone to love her. That's really all she wanted. And she had to just go through so much. And the very last book that I would like to talk about is Arusha and the End of Time by Rashni Chakshi. Now, I loved this for obviously the characters. I loved this for the mythology. I loved the history of it. And I love how Aru thinks so much. She's grown up so fast in such a small time, but she still has this very much like childlike attitude about her, and I love this. And as someone who grew up a lot faster than they wanted to, I loved how she was just still yearning for that, like, to just be nurtured. And I really enjoyed the way that she motivated Minnie, and I just love their little relationship. And I love that I really loved it. I thought it was so funny. I laughed at a bunch of parts. And as you can see, I also tabbed it a lot. And I am really excited to be reading the second one and to eventually talk about that with you as well. I'll show you the little page that I made for it. So there were elements that I took from the page. Worry for a friend can make ordinary circumstances extraordinary. And then Minnie said, "You're my sister. It's my familial duty to make sure you survive." And then Aru's mom says, "Everyone has a bit of good and bad in them." And so there were so many parts in here that I loved and can't wait to continue on. So here is the stack of books. Very small stack because most of these were digital copies. But here is a stack for you nonetheless. So thank you for that, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know that it was kind of long and some of the explanations are not that great, but you know what? I tried my best, and I hope that you'll check out some of these books, and I will see you next
honey bunnies. I'm not a doctor, I'm an actor. Tea, darling.
Sebastian Stan.